listenable.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
So,
Paul
hey,
Goody!
Ben Lawrence, how's it going? In
How's it
fact,
happening, sir?
how's it happening? Um, I want to say that um we made like light of the idea that maybe there would be some sort of war with Iran when we met next. And there isn't, but there's been a little bit of a dust up that happened,
A few things have happened in the last week, yeah.
depending on who you believe. A wonderful uh, mission to obliterate a set of three targets has occurred.
Or
Other people uh, have reported that it is not.
that it
Here's an
has
interesting,
set Iran's nuclear program back by just a few months.
yes. Now, here's the thing. A few months, that's still something. That's still, no, no knock against, trying something, I suppose. Whether or not that trying something is, I don't know, an act of war or ignoring the Congress, that's for someone else to decide, not me, for sure. Uh,
For legal
oh,
scholars and historians,
Ben, a
if any of
man
the intellectuals survive.
trying to enter the United States was sent back to Oslo. Ben, gonna guess the news. Ben, what was he sent back to Oslo for?
Why, Paul Goody, he happened to have a meme on his phone of our vice president with no hair and a very big head.
Yes. Some news agencies reporting that it was supposed to be the vice president as a baby.
Yet he still had a beard.
Others just saying as a bald man. Yes, there's a lot of debate, Ben, over what exactly was being shown. There is another AI video that is making the rounds of what look to be maybe primitive versions of our vice president, supposed to be maybe cavemen, quote unquote, or something. But instead of finding the obelisk, they are finding a black leather couch, which,
I
as you know, is
haven't. I haven't seen that one. That, of course, is a
yeah.
reference to a pre-election rumor. It's just a rumor.
I
Um,
do often think about which one of our podcast episodes is going to be used
Against
to
us in a
send
court of
me
law.
to some sort of camp. Yeah,
I didn't see
but
that
I
AI video, but I did see an AI video where some guy has an entire channel of Sasquatch leading church services.
there have been
And
a lot of Sasquatch things I've seen. Some of
singing
them,
sermons,
uh,
playing in musical instruments.
yeah, is this what they call soft disclosure, Ben? Are we going to find out that Sasquatch has been among us
And is
all this time?
quite devout to our Lord and Savior.
Yes. Well, and who's to say? As you know, the Discordians, Ben, used to have a thing that said King Kong died for your sins, which I still like a lot.
This
I had a bumper sticker on my
machine
car for a
kills
little while
Sasquatch.
that's yes, um, that said Elvis shot JFK, which I still like. But here's the thing that I think that you've you found that what did you say right before I said Elvis shot JFK?
This
You
machine
said
kills
this was
Sasquatch.
yes. Are you familiar with Coast to Coast, Ben?
Also, don't kill Sasquatch. Yeah, Art Bell. Art Bell and
Yes.
Coast to Coast.
There
Unless you're
was a
talking about Space
man.
Ghost.
Oh no, no, Art Bell, you're correct.
Okay.
There was a man on an episode of that one time who was convinced that he had a Bigfoot body, but he would not disclose where it was
Like,
because
was it
he was
his?
afraid.
Like, every time I
Oh,
look in the mirror,
I, every time I look in the mirror, I got that Bigfoot body, baby. You know it.
strong
Uh,
enough for a man, but pH balanced for Bigfoot.
exactly. Um, so I feel like the the thing that drove this one home that I really liked was the guy. He had claimed that he had shot Bigfoot while he was out hunting,
Yeah.
but he was afraid to call the authorities because he was afraid he was going to get prosecuted.
Because he didn't have a Bigfoot hunting license?
Well, because that what happens, he said, what happens if Bigfoot is determined to be
Oh,
a
right. Like
person,
an endangered
sentient.
or an endangered species. Yeah.
But if you take kind of his concern about it in a different direction, his concern is what if I just shot some guy? I mean, if you listen to it with that
Just
bend, it is kind of
just some beardy guy.
yeah. And then I started getting a little scared for myself, Ben. Little bit, tiny bit. Hey, so here's the news. I
News.
am taking an improv class myself.
Hey,
It is
Paul
my
Goody,
first.
you if anything, you can teach an improv class.
I could, but I'm not doing it because I haven't been on stage for 11 years, Ben.
11 years.
Yep.
Wow.
I count the last time that you and I performed together as my last time on stage.
That's 11 and a half years. That was
11
October
and a
of
half years.
2014.
Yep. So this is me. This is my house. This is me, and I'm getting back into it. And here's the thing, doing a level 1 intro to improv class
Yeah.
is
Are you
it
going to be
really
bored?
is no, because this is the thing, right? It really is like just playing. It's
Yeah.
it's not like it's not like you get any better necessarily at stuff that you're doing spontaneously, if that makes sense. I mean, you do, you get better skills, better instincts, etc. But working with someone who has never done it before,
Yeah.
as someone who has done it before, is actually very interesting and challenging and all that because, it's like, all right,
It's like playing poker with
so
somebody who's never played poker before. You have no idea how they're going to react.
exactly, that's right. Playing chess with someone who hasn't done it before. And here's the thing, all of these people who are doing this well, almost all of them got into the 101 class because they did a drop-in class and liked it, and so then they continued to do it. So they've actually done it more than I have,
Yeah.
at least in the near term. So
So you've taken a class before. Are these like contemporaries, young adults, like kids in their 20s? What's the
um, I
just
think
kind
I
of
might be
runs the
the
gamut?
oldest. I think I might be the oldest one there. I think I'm about the same age as the instructor. Um, there might be like one or two people who are my age, but a lot of them are younger people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But not
Um,
Betty's age. Betty's taking like improv for well, Betty's an
no,
adult.
Betty's an adult now. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy, but
Wow.
but she is. Um, I mean, she. I, I mentioned this to Jennifer every once in a while. She's just so small. When she walks away, I'm like, well, she is an adult. When she's 21, that's going to be crazy. That's not that far away. It's 2 years.
No.
Um, yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. Turns 20 next Valentine's Day.
I keep
So
forgetting
yeah.
that she's already 19.
Yep. Yeah. Oh no, Ben. Here's the thing. When I was signing her up for it,
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, the kids' classes only go up to 17. I wonder if, and I was like, well, wait a second. That's 2 years. That's
Yeah.
not a thing. And yeah, so that's interesting. Um, like a lot of what we did was there was a there was a lot of trying to learn each other's names, which I think I've done. I think I know everybody's name. I'm not going to say them on the podcast, even though it's not going to,
You can make them up.
cause any
Fred,
different.
Mary,
Yeah, but
Wildred.
why would I? Why would I? That's the question.
Murgatroyd.
Would I? Would I? And she said, one leg, or whatever. That's
How many classes have you had? So just the one, or
just the one. Yeah, it's
okay,
on Sundays.
yeah,
So, and it goes until August, and then my thought is after I do that, then I'll see like where I want to go from there. One of the things about improv class, one of the reasons I'm doing it is because I don't know anyone in Chicago really that well.
right, yeah.
Uh,
You got to start
and
rebuilding that community.
and if someone from the government, for whatever reason, would ask someone to verify that I actually do live in Chicago and am a real person, I don't know who I could get to do that. Well, and here's the other thing. I mean, honestly, getting someone who'd be willing to talk to the government is even more difficult these days. Uh, it is interesting. I think we've talked about it on this very podcast, but um, I have been noticing watching a lot of the public freakout videos that I do where ICE shows up. Um, there's another type of video that shows up on public freakouts every once in a while, which are when bounty hunters arrest someone at their house.
Yeah,
And man,
I mean, there's a whole
Ben,
TV show about
I
that.
gotta
Yeah.
say, there's a 1-to-1. It looks exactly the same. And it makes me
I All
wonder
right. So
about these guys.
I've never watched like I think it was called Dog the Bounty Hunter, right?
Yeah,
But
I don't count the reality shows as, I mean, there's a difference.
right, but like for some reason, I always imagined the person that Dog was going after were like white, middle class, like white collar criminals or
Oh
deadbeat
no.
dads or something.
No. Because here's the thing. The reason why they go after people, the whole bounty hunter thing is that there are bail bond companies who bond people out,
Right.
right? So you're in
Yeah.
jail, you don't want to be in jail anymore. Your bail is $50,000. You don't have $50,000. So your family gets together $5,000 and gives it to a bail bond company. And then you are out on bail. And the idea is that you put up $5,000, and if you skip town and don't go to your court date, then you owe the bail bond company $50,000.
Right.
I'm sure it's not really 50,000. I'm sure that there's like
It
payment plans that work out, whatever.
Yeah,
But
it's whatever the court
if
decides.
you if you skip out, then the bounty hunters go after you,
Yeah.
and they get money for, and that's not all, but they're usually called bond enforcement agents. I think I think that's right.
Because it sounds more legal and legit than bounty hunter,
Yeah.
which of course is Boba Fett.
So you see these guys, right, who show up to a court arraignment that someone has, or not even a court arraignment, just an appointment for immigration appointment. Somebody gets a text that says, "Hey, you need to show up at the courthouse for an immigration appointment."
Yeah.
They show up, and then these guys in masks take them
Yeah.
and remove them.
There
And
was.
when asked, oh, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Finish your story.
Oh, when asked, you know, hey, who are you? Identify yourself, whatever. They don't do it. And sometimes they will say something like, I'm an agent with ICE, but they don't necessarily identify themselves as a federal agent. They say
Yeah.
something like this is a federal process, or, you know, things of that nature, which leads me to believe that there may be some sort of deal with bounty hunters and ICE where there are people who are not ICE agents who are taking these people.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you heard that Kristi Noem already blew through $8 billion in this, in as Homeland Security is rounding up basically every undocumented migrant worker they can find.
brave of you to assume that I knew that. Um, but
There's
you know,
there was a there,
I do not. I'm not surprised if that
when yeah
figure
when the
is
No
correct.
Kings march was happening last weekend or weekend before last now, there was a thing going around saying if you encounter an ICE agent and they refuse to identify themselves, call 911 and say that
There's a man with a gun
there's a
who's
man with
threatening me. Yeah.
impersonating a police officer. And I heard the story about what happened during the No Kings March. So there's an immigration center in Tukwila, Washington, and it is not open on weekends. And a bunch of undocumented migrant workers in our community received texts saying you need to show up to an immigration appointment on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, and if you don't, then you will be deported. It's probably more official language than that, but for a lot of people, it felt like a trap. And
Yep.
so I actually have a friend who worked with an organization who helped these people who were like, okay, write down like somebody to contact, write down information you need to give me or someone else in case, and they're at the immigration center in case you don't walk out of there.
Yep.
And
Um,
there was a tactic by some people who would walk in with small children or babies because they figured their chances of getting snagged and bagged were lessened if they had children with them.
mm,
And
possible, but you never know.
because the word got out that this this uh this thing was happening at the immigration center, a protest popped up around the building. And so it was supposed to go, I don't know the exact time, I think it was supposed to go from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. where they were like bringing people in. They eventually closed the center at like 2 p.m. or something, and it
Mm,
didn't open on Saturday. So they considered it a small victory. They think, I may be making this up, I think the person I was talking to said that out of like 100 or so people that went through this process, only like 2 or 3 were detained.
good.
But that's still 2 or 3 people who
Good that it's
did not.
only two or three is what
Exactly,
I mean.
exactly. I know
I'm
what you mean.
sorry. Let me just yeah. See now, Ben, if you had done that, this is the difference between you and me. I'm the jerk. If you had said that, I'd be like, well, Ben, I don't know if it's actually good that um oh, by the way, for those of you, if anyone is watching this video, the reason I keep smelling my hands is that I was washing dishes and I'm wearing rubber gloves
Oh yeah.
and it smells like the inside of the gloves
Hey, on
and
the
it
show, Paul and Ben talk about the reason
bugs me.
Paul keeps smelling his hands.
Yes, exactly. Why not?
We have some feedback, not feedback, but a comment from last week's
Oh,
episode.
very good. I enjoy getting comments.
Well, as you know, Catherine listens to every episode, and she sometimes texts me comments.
Yes.
And she said that back in the day, I'll have to look in about 10 years ago, her friend Kelly and Catherine tried to switch from coffee to chicory because they learned that coffee would be eradicated from the earth due to over farming. And
Mm.
said that they lasted a couple of days.
Ah, yes. So, I think that since we've last talked, I actually got a couple of different teas. One is a caffeine-free energy and stamina tea. I don't know what exactly it is. One is for eyesight, and then I still have my mugwort and other things. So I've been mixing teas, different teas, depending on what kind of feeling I get.
I
Like,
just
oh, I want to kind
polished
of one
off
of these
a
kind of teas.
cup of coffee like I did last week because I just woke up from a nap because I got up early this morning and I was filming all day, so I was
Oh,
exhausted.
now Ben, what were you filming? If you don't mind me asking. If you can't
I
say, don't say.
I was filming
Obviously.
interviews of a scholar that is that MD PhD student at a large university here in a Nobel winning lab who receives
Ooh.
funding from an organization that helps postgrads and their finances. So a good
Wow.
organization, very smart kid.
No Nobel winning lab. There's nothing in the rule book that says the dog can't win a Nobel Prize. Airbud
Hashtag Airbud.
happening. Yeah, okay. So,
I didn't touch it, but I saw a Nobel Prize
ooh,
medallion this close. I didn't know. I didn't think I
wow.
was allowed to touch it, but it was shown to me. Nobel Prize in chemistry.
Ben just leans forward. Ooh.
It, honestly,
I was miming Ben licking a Nobel Prize,
it
for
looks
those of you that.
it actually looks like a gold wrapped chocolate medallion, and there was this student told the story of the researcher who actually won this Nobel
Mm.
Prize. He will sometimes in one-on-ones put the Nobel Prize medallion on his desk, surround it with a bunch of chocolate covered medallions, mix them up, and ask his students to pick out which one they think is the actual Nobel Prize,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
nobody's gotten it right.
So I will say this also, for those of you again who are watching the video, when I was miming Ben licking the Nobel Prize, I realized that my tongue, if you saw it, I don't know if it was
I
made
don't look at your
was a
tongue.
pointy, it was a pointy tongue rather than a large, wide, flat tongue. I think that if Ben were to lick a Nobel Prize, he wouldn't be so precise and
I
hesitant.
I would
He would just
maximize the
do the
surface
full,
area.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was I did you a disservice with my impression, and I
Thank you for
apologize.
correcting the record.
I'm afraid of trying it again just because I'm afraid I'll do it the same way at the same time. My tongue has kind of a mind of its own. I don't know if you deal with this, but when I'm at the dentist
Oh
and
yeah.
they're doing stuff, I like my tongue goes towards whatever it is.
Your tongue acts like a big black lab and wants to lean up
E-
against whatever
exactly.
is there. I find myself doing that
So
too.
I actually do this. I force my tongue to like have the underside of my tongue on the roof of my mouth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Curl it back and I hold it there so that I consciously hold it there so that I don't lick like the drill or whatever.
I think your dentist or hygienist, whoever is working on you, is very well versed in making sure they don't drill through somebody's tongue. In fact, we have a friend who is a dental hygienist. We should ask her if
Who's
they
that?
we should ask her if they take precautions against, or if they are annoyed by
Yeah.
somebody's tongue running up against their tools. It's Sonia Walker. Sonia's a dental hygienist.
I didn't know that Sonia was a dental hygienist. That's
Yeah, she
very cool.
actually she just like within the last few months finished her schoolwork and got a job as an
Also,
honest to goodness dental hygienist in a dental office.
I mean, not to I'm going off of an older memory of Sonia, but perfect for a dental hygienist.
A
Would
very
be able to
calming
tell
presence.
you would be able to tell you that you should be flossing without you feeling
Right.
incredibly bad about
Like you're
yourself.
being shamed.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, well that's very interesting. Yes, we should find out. We should find out because I'm wondering about that. Also, I am going to the dentist for the first time in a long time. Uh, a year without going to the dentist. I didn't even notice. And it's because of the move. The
Yeah.
move happened.
Cuz you got to find a new everything.
Yep, exactly. I still don't have a doctor. I thought I did, and I signed up for one, but they unfortunately have never called me back, and I'm going to go to a new one instead. It just takes a little while.
I don't I have a dental appointment. I don't know when it is. It's on my calendar. I think it's in August. But I do need to make a doctor's appointment because it has been almost 2 years since I've pooped in a box, and it is time.
Really?
Yeah,
Man, I could have sworn. Wow. So we've been doing the podcast for a while
a long while.
because it seems like only a few months ago that you talked about doing it.
No, no, it
And
was
this is the
September of 23 is the last time I was at the doctor's
man.
office.
I'm wondering when the last time I was at the doctor's office then.
Well, and aside from like the colon cancer screenings, I like the my last dentist my why do I keep saying that? My last doctor's visit kind of put me off because okay, granted, I wasn't complaining about anything, but the doctor like barely like looked at me. He just asked me a bunch of questions, didn't like doing. I think he listened to my breathing with his stethoscope, but and that was about it. You know, the whole of the visit lasted maybe 10 minutes after waiting for 45.
Wow. Yeah. I'm just I'm still fat, Ben. So I don't know. I I am I
You do
am
you?
walking
I think you
more
have 100 pounds on me.
and all that. What
Get it off! Get
yeah.
it off! Get
Yeah,
it off!
I think I do though. That's probably true.
How many
Oh,
stone
hey.
is that?
So here's something interesting. As you know, I take the red line in Chicago. Uh, and you took the red line with me. And you're
Yep.
familiar. On the red line, there are people who enter the train selling things and then leave. Uh,
7.14 stone.
like they walk through, right?
Yeah.
They walk through and they so um now normally, and this is the thing, is that on the Chicago like Reddit forums, people are often like, "I'm afraid of riding the train in Chicago. Is it safe?" Um, and you get a mix of people who say, "Yeah, it's safe. If you've ever ridden a train in a big city, it's pretty comparable to that." And then there are other people who say, "No, it isn't safe. You should never ride the train. Ride the bus instead. Or if you must ride the train, make sure that you ride in the first car where the conductor is." Now, Ben, you and I never rode in the train where the conductor was.
No.
We would always be somewhere. And so there are people who are going by and selling things
Things.
or whatever. And this is my hypothesis. I think that the people who say that they're constantly um, yelled at or inconvenienced or threatened or whatever, I honestly have this thought that there's something in their brain that kind of amplifies what happens to them, so that that person just walking through the car
Oh,
and yelling that they've got something to sell, they think that, oh my God, I
yeah.
almost
It's a direct attack on them,
I
or
got
it's a
out of
direct
there
threat to
without
them. Yeah,
right exactly.
because
Whereas
they're the main character in everybody's story.
those guys don't want to talk to you unless you're actually buying something from them. Otherwise,
Right.
they move through. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this is that the last time that I rode the train, uh, and this is to go to the improv class on Sunday, those guys, there were two guys that walked through, but they didn't leave the car. They stayed and kind of just chit chatted in the back of their
With each
car
other.
with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the way it works is that there's one guy, and listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, this is just from observation. I don't know how it really works, quote unquote. There's one guy, and then there's a guy who follows him. And I think what happens is that the guy in the front takes your money, the guy that follows gives you whatever it is, and that's how it works. In this case,
I've
I
seen The
guess they
Wire.
were,
I know how it works.
off the clock, and they started talking to each other.
This
And then
is our time.
two other people came in, also selling stuff, and then they
Ooh,
saw these two guys.
competing
It was
factions.
a man and a woman, and they started talking to each other as well.
Oh,
A
okay.
different type of conversation. It wasn't necessarily all friendly. Um, the woman at one point in time said, "Well, if you're gonna get crazy, then just get crazy." And then one of the other guys said, "You don't want to see me get crazy," and that kind of thing. So they're going back and forth.
Yeah.
And then a new guy came in, an older guy, and this guy was one of the guys that has the bandolier of the scents, the colognes or whatever that he sells.
Yeah.
And he saw those guys And he said, names and faces. I want to know if one of you was the guy who pissed on me the other night. Now, again, I'm not familiar with, but it seemed like that perhaps pissed on me was a colloquialism. They didn't actually piss on him.
Right.
They were, the idea, I think, is that
They took one of his sales or something.
they took one of his sales, or they ruined, something that he was
Yeah.
trying to get done or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and so now they're all talking to each other about business, kind of. And a man gets on, and he's younger. I feel like he's younger than me. He's got dreadlocks that go straight down his face, like a curtain
Covering
on
his
his
face.
face. And he sits right across from me. And the guy with the bandolier of cologne comes over to him and says, "Names and faces, show me your face. I want to know who you are." Now, he wasn't with any of the other, he had just gotten on. And what he did was he just went like this to the guy. And I'm motioning with my hand, like, I don't
Like
want
you're
to talk
trying
to
to
you
just
left.
wave a fly
And he
away.
shake, and the guy was insistent for a little bit, but then eventually gave up. And I looked down, and the guy who had just gotten on didn't have any shoes on. His shoes were gone. He was just wearing black socks.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this guy sitting across from me, just wearing black socks, has this curtain of hair. And as I say in my head, has this curtain of hair, one single eye between the curtain of dreads looks at me, and just clear. And for a moment, Ben, I was not necessarily enlightened, but it was one of these things where everything else disappeared. And then he didn't move, he didn't do anything, but the curtain kind of closed. And then
So
I was back on the train.
he saw you notice that he had no shoes.
Or he was just, or this is the other possibility.
He was casing you, or not
I was
casing,
on
but
the train.
he was sizing
No,
you
that
up.
wasn't, I wasn't thinking that. This is what I was thinking. I was on the train, and you know, this guy starts messing with me, asking me to see my face, and I don't have time for that, so I'm just like, whatever. And then I look, and sitting across from me is what I can only describe as a wizard, and he's staring at me for some reason. That's what I mean. I What happened in that moment when I saw him look at me, I was like, "Oh right, I'm pretty weird." I'm thinking about all the other people on the train, and I'm like, but what's going on with me?
You're part of
That's
the
a different
weirdos.
problem. Yeah, exactly.
I do remember
So
when I was in Chicago and we rode the train into town. A lot of the people passing through were selling, whatever various chemicals you want to buy. But there was one dude who was selling like toothbrushes and toothpaste,
yeah,
and
this is the thing is that, and
somebody
that's why I say,
sitting across from us like bought a
yeah.
toothbrush.
And sometimes they're just selling cigarettes. Sometimes you never necessarily know what it is. And the thing is,
It's like a mobile
when I'm on the
bodega.
train, I'm not in the business for anything, so I
Yeah.
don't pay attention. And also, this is the thing is, and I mean, I learned this in Seattle, you know, and I guess all of my general instincts just sort of come back. You In a city, the people are closer together, right? You're dealing with more people also in a greater span of time than you do in smaller places. In general, there is a curtain, if you will, of just privacy that everyone has, called kind of minding your own business. Someone over here could be having a super big fight with, so this happened with me and Jennifer. We're going around looking at statues, right?
Yeah.
So there's an area in Chicago called Pilsen, which has started the gentrification process, kind of, but it still has like the Mexican art museum is there. There are murals everywhere and stuff like that, but there are also a lot of like hipsters moving in. So,
Because at
you
one
know,
time it was cheap, and all the artists lived
right,
there.
exactly. It's going through that process.
Yeah.
Um, and so we had dropped Betty off for her improv. This is on Monday for her improv class, and we went down there and we're looking around at all the statues because there are statues of like this is the first president of Mexico, this is the second president of Mexico, that sort of thing. And we're walking around to all the statues, and then there was a guy who was on the phone and he started screaming at the top of his lungs to someone on the other end of the phone. And Jennifer and I just very naturally turned around, walked back to the car because, and as Jennifer put it, you don't know if there was really someone on the other end of that phone,
Right.
that sort of thing. And and this is the thing is that you don't, and I hope this is coming across in all of these situations. I have no idea what's going on with anyone, right? I get what's happening on the surface. I get this person is here and this person is here and they're saying these things back and forth. But I don't know. For all I know, those four people could have known each other since high school and they were having a different,
Right.
kind of altercation.
Yeah.
No, the let me see your face guy could have gotten pissed on by the curtain guy in real life, and none of what I was saying was correct. You have that sense about you. I don't know what's happening. And you keep that sense, right? And this is why people are like, I can't believe no one saw anything if an event happens. But the fact is, if you're minding your own business, you part of it is you have your idea about what's happening, but you also know that that idea isn't necessarily what's going on. The person who taught me that lesson the most was the 911 operator uh, when I was in Seattle. Okay, so what's the little plaza area when you were working for the founder and I was working for the box store?
Yeah.
What do you
I
call
don't,
that? Is it Jackson Station?
oh,
Uh,
Union Station?
is that what it is? Is it
Well,
Union
Union
Station?
Station is, yeah, I don't know if the plaza, like the space between our
Where?
two buildings.
Yeah, that
I
that.
don't know if that has a name.
But the stop there is Union
Yeah,
Station.
the
Oh,
Amtrak stop is Union Station.
right. Okay. So so I was there and I saw two guys. This is back in, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Two guys just kicking another guy. And I called 911 and I said, "Hey, there are these two guys and they're beating up another guy." And the person on the other end said, "Three men fighting." I said, "Well, there are two guys and they're beating up another guy." And she just repeated,
Yeah.
"Three men fighting." And that was it. And she said, "Thank you," hung up. Police showed up a little while later. Nobody asked me like any questions or anything, but I realized the reason that she did that was because three men fighting no longer and it's interesting too because this is the police and people have
You
an idea about it.
yeah.
It takes any context that I was adding out of the equation.
Right. There's no aggressor, there's no victim.
Right. Because who knows? The guy who they were kicking might have attacked one of the guys. It could be that all three of them, pulled a heist and then this other guy, tried to stiff them.
Yeah.
Or it could be that, they're all brothers and they just really got into, you know, I don't know the situation.
I was
And
driving
this
home.
is,
Yeah, I was driving home once, and at the corner of 45th and I-5, I was turning left on 45th, and there were three men fighting, but it was 2-on-1, right? And we're all waiting at the red light in our cars, like watching this, and nobody is getting out. I'm sure there were a lot of people on their phones calling 911, but like they were just there kicking the crap out of this guy. And eventually they like the two people got back into the car. They looked at first in line and then ran the red light and sped off. And the third guy just kind of like picked up his stuff and started wandering off. And I think about that all the time. Like, what? I don't know the context. I don't know if those
Yeah,
two guys just randomly decided to beat up a panhandler because that's where panhandlers normally stood, or
yeah,
if that third guy like shot inside the car.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was a time, and I think we mentioned. I think I've told you about this before. I don't think we talk about it that often on here, but I was in Columbia, Missouri. Some guys threw a bottle at me, and so I chased after their car.
Yeah.
I ran after it. I ran after it for blocks, right?
Miles.
And eventually they parked the car and four of them got out. And the kid says to me, I'm the one that threw the bottle. I'm 14. What are you going to do? I was 19 at the time, if I remember
I'm
correctly.
gonna kick your ass is what I'm gonna do.
And so I was like, well, I can't really do it. And so what I did was I said, okay, look, I'm just going to sit down. If you want to be big men, and and that's all that I got out because they just started kicking me.
Jesus.
And so um, I like kind of put my hands over my head like this, and I sort of tucked in, and then I started laughing. And the reason I started laughing was this: my sister used to beat me up all the time, and they had no way of knowing this, but she would do more damage to me than they were doing. And there were four guys,
Yeah.
and you know, and it was funny, so I started laughing. And they said, "What do you? I'll give you something to laugh about." And they left, and they opened up the trunk of their car, and I was like, "Oh, well, I could just go." And so
Yeah.
I got up
Here's my
and I started
opportunity.
running. And there was a guy who worked at the parking garage that I had run into. And I said, "Hey, could you call the police or something?" And he said, "No, sorry, I can't do that." And I was like, "Okay." And so I ran up the stairs of the parking garage, and there are these emergency phones that you're supposed to be able to use to call campus police.
Yeah.
And so I just took all of those phones off the receiver, and then I ran again, and I just kept running, and I lost them. And I think about that all the time. That guy going, "Nope, I can't." I'm like, "Why? What what does it mean?" And also just the idea that I'd never I think I did call and file a police report the next day. I think I did.
You
But
didn't know anybody in the
apparently
car. They didn't.
no, no.
Yeah.
The thing that I was told was that there was a wrestling meet that was in there, and that those guys were probably from out of town. That's what
Yeah.
they told me.
Yeah.
So I guess I did talk to the police about it. Anyway, point being, um, yeah, it's
Point
people
being,
say the
mind your
bystander,
business.
the well, I mean, but really for real, right? Like even in that situation, I could have not chased after the car.
Right.
So if someone were to get involved, and if they had gotten hurt about it, and they were like, why were those guys messing with you anyway? And then I say, well, I chased their car for 8 blocks. You know, they're not going to feel good about that. Last time I did that, anything like that too. I mean, that's the other thing that I remember. I'm not that much of an aggressive person. I don't think. I don't think that you and I famously have never gotten into any sort of physical altercation with another performance art group that I can remember.
You're correct. We've never
Yeah.
had a turf war with the pajama men.
Oh my God, turf war with the pajama men. If we were still in Seattle and still performing, and the pajama men were coming into town, I would like to pitch that to them as an idea. And the idea would basically be that um, I think what would be most funny is if the Pajama Men are doing one of our bits, and then we come in
Something involving marshmallows.
and then we say, what are you doing? And then they say something like, well, we thought, what if we did the stupidest thing anyone could ever do? And we tried really hard to come up with what it was, and this is what we came up with. Well, that's our bit. And they're like, oh,
Sorry.
sorry. And then they leave. Yeah, that's exactly. The fact that you and I both hit on sorry was good. That's And then someone isolates that and plays it for someone named Sorry, and she's like, I don't even know who those two men are. I'm sorry.
I'm
She
sorry.
says, uh, yeah, dumb. So this is the other thing I was going to say is that I told Jennifer about this too. After going to that class, I felt more like myself than I have in a really long time. And Jennifer was like, yeah, I was kind of confused about how you could get rid of, you know, any performance that you were doing
Yeah.
and be like, this is fine. I could just not do this ever again. And I was like, you're right. Yeah, I get it. Hmm.
I I can't remember the last time I was on stage performing. I've been on stage and I've been me a number of times since
Yeah,
then. But I haven't I mean, one could say that what other people see of me is a performance. Nobody knows the real me,
yeah.
but I honestly can't remember the
Ben
last time I like
Ben just
memorized words to say in front of people.
Ben just sits at home, wipes the make off of his tattoos, and just drinks a beer and flips a knife over and over again, just waiting to be activated.
Welcome to the real me, baby.
Exactly. Oh, speaking about that, fun little thing for those of you who didn't hear. Apparently, I've heard reports that Iran has stated that they have sleeper cells in the United States that could be activated, and
Ah.
Jennifer learned from me that I didn't know exactly what a sleeper cell was. I thought a sleeper cell was like a Manchurian candidate where you didn't know that you were an agent, but it's actually the Americans where you just are in deep cover
Yeah, yeah,
in their
yeah.
program.
And you're waiting for the call to like
Yeah,
come out from undercover
exactly. Oh, hey, speaking of
and tear stuff up.
undercover stuff, have you been watching Murderbot at all?
Oh yeah, I'm all caught up.
Yeah, spoilers for Murderbot. That thing
Up
where
through
he,
episode like was 6 or something.
yeah, where the guy said that he was a corporate spy and he joined the the kind of hippie guys because he was sick of lying and the drugs and everything like that. It was
Hmm.
pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Maybe I'm not caught up. I don't remember that.
Okay, what happened at the again, spoilers for whatever episode. What happened at the end of the last episode that you saw?
I can't remember if the last episode I saw is when Murderbot blew off the head of the gal from Deltfall
Uh-huh.
when she was holding uh Garathian hostage.
Hmm.
Um
Okay, there's one after that one.
I'm gonna look it up on the good old IMDb.
And Garathian was the guy that I was talking about. It's not
Uh
a spoiler really.
it's possible.
You you already know that he was part of the corporation, you know,
Yeah.
thing and had just recently joined.
Let's see episodes. It's possible
So
I
it
just
is,
missed him saying that line.
yeah, it
Episode
is
guide.
kind of nice when you're watching Murderbot, um, to see kind of how another kind of world could work. You know, it's kind of like watching the Smurfs as well. You're like, well, you could have the Smurf village,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah, and I have seen that episode. That's the one where they move the hopper and the two alien creatures
Yes.
do it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
That's the
I
one
have
that we
seen that.
saw.
I don't remember Grathing saying that though, but
Oh, he said it at the very it was a flashback to when he was joining it was a flashback to the very start of their mission, like a month earlier.
uh it didn't take place after
I
the credits, did it?
no.
Okay. Tend not
No,
to like.
it started out the episode. It was
Okay.
very first.
Okay. Cool. 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 I have to.
Um
Yeah, I'll have to go and rewatch.
I
I'm
like that
gonna
actor.
rewatch all those episodes. David Dashmaltian, or however you say it.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy. He's pretty cool.
That guy.
Unless he's killed someone or done something
He's.
horrible. I
We have here on the GudeLaurance podcast. We have to qualify every time we say we like somebody, just in case they are a
yeah,
terrible, horrible,
I
no good,
forgot
very bad
exactly who
person.
it is, but I think we had that happen at one point in time. We said I really like this guy, and then it turned
Oh,
out,
Paul, Bill Cosby is not a good person.
yeah, that's exactly. W. Kamau Bell directed a documentary about Bill Cosby.
I did not. I
That
haven't seen
he's
it.
getting
I don't care to learn any more about Bill Cosby, so I haven't searched it out.
well, it's it's apparently causing him some trouble. Some people
Bell or
are mad at
Cosby?
him. Uh, Bell,
W. Kamau Bell. I know it's weird just saying
W.
his
Kamau
last
Bell.
name.
Yeah, yeah. Um, because some people, think that Cosby was framed, and or even if he wasn't framed, that what he did, um, that there was a double standard in his prosecution, that sort of thing. And so he was
Interesting.
talking about that, just like
Gotcha.
his general
I
um
I
fallout from
I
it.
I rewatched. No, I didn't rewatch. I watched it for the first time. An episode of Parts Unknown. Of course, starring Anthony
Ooh.
Bourdain
Oh,
and
sorry. I was thinking of a different show.
Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown. Anthony Bourdain, of course, passed away during the filming of the final season, and but they
Yes.
completed and released the final season of Parts Unknown post mortem, using the footage that they had. And so this season, this was like the first episode of the final season. It aired after Bourdain had passed away, and it was with W. Kamau Bell, and they go to Africa. They go to Kenya specifically, and Nairobi, and go on safari out of Nairobi. And it's a great episode. And the reason I watched it, Paul, I don't know if I've told you this. I am actually going to Nairobi in January.
I don't think that you told me this. Now,
Yeah,
that's amazing. For how long?
a week, technically like nine
Okay.
days,
All right. As far as I know.
as far as I know. If I make it back, I'm going on safari, so lions and tigers, and I don't think there are any bears over there. But
Well, I was also going to say, you show up and they're like, Ben Lawrence, we've heard your podcast. If you think you're coming back,
I gotta load all the JD Vance memes on my phone, so they don't let me back into the states.
yeah, man, I don't know. For those of you who are keeping score, it's June 26, 2025. Just recently, the Supreme Court overturned a decision by a judge that people could not be extradited to a third country that they had no, or I guess a third party country. I don't know exactly the wording, where they don't know anybody. So, like,
Right.
if you're from Mexico,
We're not gonna send you to El Salvador
you should be,
anymore.
yeah, we're not going to send you to El Salvador or whatever. There was a story where um there were people who were being sent to, I think it was West Sudan. I don't know. It's the Sudan, somewhere in the Sudan.
Oh, the Sudan.
Uh, and they were just going to drop them off.
Yeah.
and they weren't. None of
Sting
these people were from the Sudan. They were from like
middle of
Cuba,
the capital city town square.
and
Good luck.
then a judge said, "No, you can't do that. You have to bring them back uh, for due process." And the agent said, "Well, we're not going to do that." And the judge said, "Well, then you're not coming back. You can't bring them. You either bring them back,
Yeah.
or you come back with them. Either you come back with them,
Or you
or
don't
you
come
stay
back at
there with
all.
them."
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So they all had to stay at a naval base in that area. And
The
I think that the overturning of that decision, uh, when I say the overturning of that decision, I mean the overturning of whatever decision it was that they overturned affects that case.
yeah.
But for
It's
a while anyway, they were just, and I was like, that's a that's a movie that I kind of want to see,
it's a
where
movie that we're
they
currently
all
living
get,
through. I don't know if I want to watch
yeah.
that movie. It is amazing how this
The reason
administration
I
gets
want to
away
see
defying governments or
um
judicial orders.
yeah, I guess the reason I wanted to see the movie of it is because that way it wouldn't be happening. I would rather see this on TV, as Laurie Anderson famously said. Um,
As because then it would
yeah,
be
it is.
fiction and
Oh, I guess yeah.
escape from
The
reality.
time is to mention. Everyone's acting like he's already won, but of course he has not won yet. But he has won the Democratic primary in
Oh,
New York City.
Zoran
Um,
Mamdani.
he will be most likely the mayor of New York, and I think the reason everyone thinks that he will is because New York is most likely going to elect a Democratic mayor. That's what the polls are saying.
Yeah,
Um,
so he's running like Eric Adams, the current New York mayor. I heard is going to be running as an independent.
mm.
It's possible that Eric Adams. I don't know if New Yorkers have any love for that guy. Um,
He's apparently having a lot of legal trouble
yeah,
right now.
he
And
is.
famously, when all the different mayors were showing up in front of Congress, he was one of the few that was like towing the line. Uh, and there was actually a person who asked if he made any sort of deals. I think it was AOC actually who asked if
Yeah.
he had made any deals, and he did not answer the question, if I
I
remember
also
correctly.
heard that it's possible that Cuomo could enter the race, the primary or the general for
Yeah,
the election as also an independent or a third
I
party.
mean,
So,
technically, probably anyone can run as the mayor, but we'll
but
see.
yeah, I mean, like Washington has a law that prohibits that sort of thing. Washington
Mm,
State. It's if you lose a primary, you can't run in a general. There's a name for it. I can't quite put my finger on it.
mm. Um, so we are at time, Ben, but I wanted to say right before, I have a new favorite food that Jennifer cooks, and there's no term for it that we know of. It's
It's just
steak
food. It's
or beef,
steak,
beef strips,
beef
strips of beef
strips. Okay.
wrapped around. There are these mushrooms that are long and skinny,
Yeah.
so it's steak wrapped around those with egg and rice. And it's
Mm.
so good. I love it because she used to make, my favorite thing that she used to make were these things called chicken squares, which were biscuits and cream cheese and chicken all together. And I like this 10 times better. And she's like, well, we aren't gonna have chicken squares anytime ever again. I'm like, good.
I had to
Just
look it up because it was bothering me because I knew it had such a weird colloquial term. What I was looking for, and I just googled election term where you can't run in the general if you lost in the primary, and then it's called the sore loser law.
oh wow, that's funny. Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about any of the AI stuff, Ben. just
Oh,
really
I'm
quick
afraid
tail
we're out
end.
of time, Paul.
Yeah, more and more people are getting into weird culty behavior that their chat GPT gets them into. Like they use it for spiritual like enlightenment stuff, and
I
it convinces them that they're the Messiah,
I
apparently.
haven't heard that, but I did hear Bernie Sanders tell Joe Rogan that we do have a problem with young men falling in love with their AI girlfriends.
Which is also true, I'm sure. Uh,
And
a lot
Rogan's
of
like,
a lot
man,
of
that's weird.
yeah, slowly putting his phone down. Uh,
I'll talk to you
exactly. Yeah.
later.
All right, Ben. Yeah, there we go. On that note,
And
how's it
with
happening?
that,
Keep it wrong.
keep it wrong, Paul. How's it happening? Talk to you next week.
Talk
Until
to you next
then.
week.